Okay, be honest. Have you ever plugged in your phone for one of those super quick charges and had a little voice in your head ask, "Am I secretly killing my battery right now?" Well, you are definitely not alone. It's probably one of the biggest questions in tech today. And you know what? We're going to settle it once and for all. We're going to look at the science, a huge real-world study, and even peek into what's next. So let's get into it. This right here is the big one, isn't it? I mean, we all absolutely love the convenience. The idea that you can get hours of battery life in just a few minutes is amazing. But there's always that little nagging doubt. Is all of this speed coming with a hidden price tag for our battery's future? And look, this isn't just you or me worrying about it. As this quote from Gadget Hacks points out, it's a massive debate, and it comes from a very real place. But to really get to the bottom of it, we need to go back and understand why we even have fast charging in the first place. Yeah, the whole story of fast charging actually starts with a feeling we all know way too well. It's that sinking pit in your stomach when you see that little battery icon turn red and you are nowhere near a charger. Yep, it has a name: battery anxiety. And it is a real psychological thing. Think back to the 2010s. Our phone screens were getting bigger, the processors were getting more powerful, but the batteries just couldn't keep up. So phone makers had a choice: either make phones way thicker with giant batteries or figure out how to charge them way, way faster. And well, they chose speed. So the whole industry just kind of shifted. The idea was to change how we think about charging. It wasn't going to be this slow, overnight thing anymore. It was going to be a quick, active top-up you could do whenever you needed it. Honestly, it wasn't just about making things convenient. It was something that had to happen. And wow, what an evolution. I mean, just look at how fast things accelerated here. We went from a pretty standard 7.5 watts back in 2010 to well over 100 watts now. That's more than a 10 times jump in how much power we're pushing. But how on earth did they do that? Well, believe it or not, it all comes back to some basic high school physics. See, power, which we measure in watts, is just voltage times current. So to get more watts, you can either pump up the voltage, think of that like water pressure, or you can increase the current, which is kind of like making the hose wider. The early days of fast charging were all about cranking up the voltage, but the newer systems have found some really clever ways to boost the current instead. Okay, so this is where all that fear and anxiety comes from. And you know what? It's based on a real grain of truth. Pushing that much energy into a delicate little chemical system like a battery can, in theory, absolutely cause some stress. This is honestly the perfect way to think about it. When you're forcing electricity into a battery that fast, you're making chemical reactions happen quicker than they want to. All that rushing around generates heat and stress. And back in the early days, this caused two very specific problems. First, there's this really nasty thing called lithium plating. So what's supposed to happen is that lithium ions neatly tuck themselves into the battery structure. But if they're all rushing in too fast, they can just get stuck on the surface and form these tiny, irreversible metal crystals. And that permanently reduces how much charge your battery can hold. The second problem has to do with heat. See, every lithium-ion battery has this protective layer called the SEI. Heat from fast charging can make that layer grow thicker than it's supposed to. When that happens, it can actually trap useful lithium and make it harder for the battery to even charge in the future. So yeah, the early worries, they were totally based in real science. But, and this is the most important part, that was then, this is now. The story didn't stop there. Instead, engineers developed these incredibly smart systems designed specifically to fight those problems. So, modern charging, it's not just a blast of raw power. It's more like a conversation. The second you plug your phone in, the charger, the cable, and your phone's little brain, the battery management system, they all have what's called a smart handshake. They literally talk to each other to figure out the fastest but also safest speed based on things like the battery's temperature and how full it is. And this explains so much about what you see every day. The charging process happens in these three smart stages. From empty to about 80%, your phone says, "Give me all you got." That's the fast part. But once it hits 80%, it intentionally slams on the brakes to protect the battery. And that final, slow crawl from 95 to 100%, that's just a tiny trickle to top it off safely. It's exactly why that last 20% seems to take forever. Okay, so we've got the theory, and we've got the new safety tech. But what actually happens in the real world, day in and day out? Well, to find out, the tech channel Mr. Who's the Boss did something kind of crazy. They launched this massive experiment testing 40 different phones with both fast and slow charging for 2 entire years. And the results? They were pretty shocking. They really challenged everything we thought we knew. After 24 straight months of testing, the difference in battery health between the phones that were always fast charged and the ones that were always slow charged was, you can see for yourself, it was barely there. On average, the difference was less than 5%. For most of us who are probably getting a new phone every 2 or 3 years anyway, that small amount of degradation is pretty much nothing. It basically proved that these modern battery systems are incredibly good at their jobs. But the study found something else, something that turned out to be even more important. Get this, the biggest killer of battery health wasn't the charging speed at all. It was the heat that was created by doing intense stuff on your phone, like playing a heavy-duty game or streaming a movie while it was charging. It's the combination of charging heat plus the heat from the processor that creates way more stress than just fast charging by itself. So this totally changes the conversation, right? The question we should be asking isn't, is fast charging bad? The real question is, okay, so what are the new rules for keeping my battery healthy? And here they are. It's pretty simple. First, and this is the big one, avoid extreme heat. Don't leave your phone charging on a car dashboard in the sun. Second, try not to do really heavy stuff on it while it's plugged in. Let it charge in peace. Third, if you can, try to keep your battery in that sweet spot between 20 and 80%. It just reduces stress. And finally, please use good quality, certified chargers and cables. They're the ones that can do that all-important smart handshake. And looking down the road, this tech is just getting smarter and smarter. The whole goal now is to make charging even faster, even safer, and more efficient. And a lot of that is thanks to a cool new material. That material is gallium nitride, or GaN for short. It's starting to replace silicon inside our chargers, and it is a total game changer. GaN is just way more efficient, which means it can handle a ton of power in a much smaller package, and, this is key, it creates way less waste heat. It's the secret to making our chargers tiny and our fast charging even safer. So when you boil it all down, the idea that fast charging is a battery killer is really a myth left over from older technology. Today's phones are literally built from the ground up to handle it. They are designed for it. So while being smart about heat is always a good thing, you can finally, officially, stop feeling guilty about using that fast charger. Your phone already knows what it's doing.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.